I do not view abortion as a choice and a right. I think it's always a tragedy.
And that is Joe Biden. It's back in 2006 video that was just resurfaced just yesterday. We're gonna have more on that. We have to bear in mind it's 2006, but this comes up in the context of last week's little back and forth between the Biden campaign and activists who didn't like his continued support up until just last Wednesday of the Hyde Amendment that bars any sort of federal funds from supporting or going towards abortion. He did eventually back off of that within like 24 to 48 hours, thanks to pressure. But this shows, as we will go into more of the video, that this was an issue for him, that he did defer, even in his own words, from the party back in 2006, and still seems to be on somewhat shaky ground on some of these topics.
Yes, he is being bullied into a position by people who are righteous, I think. I mean, not bullied, bully's a bad word. That's why I added righteous. But like, there is the electorate around him has changed. He's 700 years old. He's been in politics for 900 years.
Great teeth, though.
His teeth are about 7.
That's awful. That's just, you're awful.
True.
It's true.
It's a thin veneer of progressivism that he's got going.
Oh my God.
So there's that.
Okay,
yeah,
this is serious.
So this is absolutely serious. This is one of the many disturbing videos that you'll see reemerge from Biden, many of which have already reemerged on this network. And just as how like the Hyde Amendment position finally made it to the mainstream media, just as the DCCC and their crazy plan to keep challengers out of the primaries finally got through to the media probably 2.5 months after it was covered here, the same is going to be happening.
Yeah.
So set your clock and see how long it is before that comes back up on Meet the Press.
Yes, it's gonna be around, there's gonna be more. Hopefully this one isn't a deep fake, but eventually one will be. And so we're gonna have to see how that's
That could be the solution, is the Biden campaign goes and deep fakes progressive policies from back in the day.
He might wanna look into that.
I think choices should be protected.
Yeah, well look, we gotta show the actual video. So there's 2 different sections to this. Here is his first, responding to a question about where he stands on abortion back in 2006.
I do not view abortion as a choice and a right. I think it's always a tragedy, and I think that it should be rare and safe. And I think we should be focusing on how to limit the number of abortions, and there ought to be able to have a common ground and consensus as to do that. I think the vast majority of the American people think that can be done, but unfortunately, we're put in a position you either eliminate abortions under all circumstances, or it's quote abortion on demand. The fact of the matter is, I've never known of a woman having an abortion and say, by the way, I feel like having an abortion. It's always a tragic decision made, always a difficult decision. And I think we should focus on how to deal with women not wanting abortions.
I don't know what that last bit means.
That's weird, because like there's that point that is true, which is like, listen, the right. It's not like people are like, hell yeah, today I get my abortion. It's either that or Disneyland. I'll flip a coin. Like no, and abortion on demand. That is a weird Comcast service that I didn't stand up for. But
yeah, and I don't like him even using that. He's not saying that's what people are doing, but I don't even like hearing it. And look, he says, even in there, he points out multiple different areas where he diverges, and we'll talk about it a little bit more in terms of limitations. He would describe himself even then, let alone now, as pro-choice, but his approach to it is, I think, consistent with the sort of Democrat that, they do support your continued ability to exercise your reproductive freedoms, but are they really going to fight on certain limitations like the Hyde Amendment? I mean, that in specific, no, he's not going to. But are they going to vigorously oppose state level efforts to continue to chip away women's reproductive rights? Probably not as much as someone who actually supports women's rights.
Right, this is the safe, legal, and rare era of people.
Yes.
Where rare, there's 2 approaches to that, to make it rare. One is to say, okay, what is going on? Is there sex education that we could do to make it more rare so you're not in that situation? And can we make it rare through some kind of other like socially progressive movement?
And he says in it that increasing economic growth and making the economy stronger tends to lead historically to lower levels of abortions. That's one way to do it. That's what he would say.
But the other way to make it rare is things like the Hyde Amendment, the Missouri effort to get to defund the local the one abortion clinic in the state. And then, of course, the other legal approaches in state legislatures that are already not quite representative of the entire electorate within those states because they've been gerrymandered within the inch of their life.
Yeah. Well, I want to show you one more section on terms of what limitations he, at least in 2006, was in favor of here.
I do not vote for funding for abortion. I voted against partial birth abortion to limit it, and I vote for no restrictions on a woman's right to be able to have an abortion under Roe v. Wade. And so I've made everybody angry. I've made the right to life people angry because I won't support a constitutional amendment or limitations on a woman's right to exercise her constitutional right as defined by Roe v. Wade. And I've made the women's groups and others very angry because I won't support public funding and I won't support partial birth abortion.
Okay, so
what a weird claim.
I know,
as they say in snowboarding after you land a trick, like everyone hates me. Yeah.
But there he's trying to be one of those Democrats where it's like, hey, this is bipartisanship. Everybody hates me a little bit.
No.
Yeah, but they might still hate you for that same position because you just had to be convinced on the Hyde Amendment, which you were there saying you would not oppose in 2006. The whole partial birth abortion thing, that the only reason that was a topic of conversation was the right wing felt like that was a winner for them to pretend that that was anything other than what it is, which is an incredibly, incredibly, incredibly rare thing.
Yeah, and partial birth abortion.
And they're still doing a version of that now.
It's already a branding that you've accepted.
Exactly, and you're advancing.
It's like death tax, marriage tax.
So
it's a term.
Look, he's going to be asked questions about this probably at the upcoming debate, which is not far off. But this doesn't look good considering where the country has moved in the time since 2006. And I would say even where it was then. Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.